Hey guys, it's Alex and Danielle. We are here with Rise&Grind podcast. We are on episode 34 and we have a special surprise treat today. We have Coach Jo Koons on with us. She has been kind enough to grace us with her presence and let us pick her brain a little bit today. So we're super excited about that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all. Love listening to all the things you have to say.
Yeah. I love when we get to bring someone else in and it's not just everyone hearing Alex and I banter. It's kind of nice.
We like to listen to ourselves talk, but not everybody else wants to listen to us talk.
True.
So backstory first, Jo and I go back to technically playing. So she started at Utah State the year I finished at Hawaii. So we played each other in conference in WAC. Kind of sort of like, hey, how are you type of thing. And then we ran into each other again at, was it in NorCal?
Yeah.
The camp?
Somewhere. Yeah.
It was like a camp or something when I was coaching at Davis and she was coaching at Oregon at the time. And from there, just kind of started keeping in touch and crisscrossing paths all the time at recruiting tournaments and in the coaching world. And you've lived like the stereotypical coaching life so far in your career. Like you've been a lot of places, East Coast, West Coast, community college, D1, D2, like all over the place. Like you've had like it's been really cool to watch. And so we were able to reconnect when you were at UT Arlington, and then you helped me connected there for the commentating, and now you are the head honcho over at ACU, which congrats, because in the coaching world you're like super young.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't feel super young, but yes.
As like a D1 head coach, I feel like you're super young in that. Yeah. Like when people don't realize, like, it's a big deal to have a D1 head coaching job that early. So second year in, how do you feel going into kind of like the end of your second full fall?
Yeah. Good. It's interesting, right? Whenever you take over a program, I think that's probably the one thing I have gained a lot of experience in, because I've moved so much that I've lived a lot of different falls, other places, which has benefited me in some ways, because it just feels very normal that, you just jump in, you get to work. So having the opportunity to kind of make it my own now, it's been interesting. And I feel like I've learned a lot this fall of like, okay, I like that we did that. I don't want to do that again. Like taking more notes, whereas in the past, it's been a lot of note taking and like, these are things that I like to do, or this is it's just kind of keeping track of all those things. But this team is different than last year, which is cool to see. I mean, you come in, you kind of inherit, and then having the opportunity to recruit a lot of players in. We graduated 9 seniors last year, actually 10. And so pretty much reflipped the roster. I only returned 6 and then 16 new athletes. So it's been a lot of team building this fall, a lot of figuring out, what are the standards? What does that look like? How do we live that out every day? So it's been really good. I'm excited to see kind of what it looks like in the spring. I think that's the very surprising part. People are like, are you going to be better? I'm like, well, I hope. I think that's always the goal, right? Like, but because inexperience is a really good thing, I keep saying, because they don't know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. But it's also, we all know that it also shows up on the field when you don't want it to sometimes, or, you hit that wall sometimes earlier and you don't know how to get past it. So, but super proud of them. And we're in our last week here. So we're doing our, we call it the Cats Challenge. So just kind of leading up to that conference tournament, trying to get them ready and mentally tough and doing things that they didn't think they could do and doing them together. So it's been fun to watch them compete so far this week.
Yeah. If we were to ask the athletes that you coach to describe you as their leader, in a couple different words, what do you think they would say?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm
just gonna go ask them now. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you got to ask them when you interview them this spring.
Yes.
I think I'm pretty consistent. I think I love what I get to do every day. And I would say competitive. I keep them competitive and create that environment where they always are wanting to get better, not just on the field, but also off the field and in life. So
nice. I love that. I when you think about like the times, like I'm a little bit older than you, you know, you and Alex are somewhat similar, like in the generation of like when we played the game, right? And how we were coached, and then now you look at being a head coach at a program. How do you feel like the game has changed? I'm not going to say evolved. I'm just going to say, how do you think, like, what are the pros and cons of how the game has changed before your eyes in comparison to when we did it?
Yeah, man, so much. I just think back to like watching you play, and you know, TV wasn't a thing, right? So
Mhm.
I watched the World Series. That's how I know who Daniel Laurie is. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and you were like locked in. And I think now softball, it's grown, which is fantastic. And we have so many games and so much footage. And I feel like what has changed, and I'm trying to get our athletes back to, is like watching games, like sitting and watching whole games to learn and to know the game. Because we just watch clips, we watch highlight reels, right? We don't know, situationally is where I see a lot of it has changed. Like we don't know how to, you know, call what bag we need to go to, or like read the spin or know the runners, right? Because you don't watch the game to realize those things, as much as, you know, you and I, and like you just, that's what you did. A lot of us watch baseball is really ultimately, and then we practiced probably a lot more, which I think is probably what I tell our recruits. They're like, what's the biggest difference in college? I'm like, you practice every day, or, you know, you should be practicing every day if we're not in the proper hours. Whereas in high school and in travel ball, it's like, you know, they're practicing, if you're lucky, you're practicing a couple of times a week, which that's
Twice a week.
yeah, that's great. But most organizations, you know, it's like once a month. And they do like the 8-hour practices, which just crack me up, because I'm like, what is that doing for them? Like, besides just like it's a long day and you're occupying their time. I think social media obviously has had somewhat of an impact. So it's just trying to keep them engaged in what you're doing and what our program is about. And so I tell our recruits, like, I recruit to the challenge, not to the reward. And I think that a lot of programs, like, you see on the outside all the glory, and I'm like, we're gonna do it different here. Like, we're coming here to work hard, to grind it out, and like we'll get the reward on the other side, but stay in line with like what our core values are every day, which are accountability, competitiveness, and being uncommon, which is doing things differently and not being selfish in what we do, but being selfless and doing the little things right. So very different world. It's a very different world, and you're competing against very different just very different programs. And I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's just very different. It's a very different scale than it once was.
I have one more question before, Alex, I'll let you ask a couple. Do you have conversations with the student athletes when they come in about social media stuff? Yeah,
we do. Fortunately for me, I also coach at a private school, so it's a little bit more strict because we lay it out pretty clearly in our like standards and our bylaws. But I just say that everything that you do represents this program. So if you don't want it out there, like, don't do it. And and every year it happens, right? And you get the warning, and it's like, hey, we're not doing that again. And then if there is, it's going to be like consequences on the other side. But definitely like in-game policies and like bus policies, all of those things of like shutting down the social media and the phones. I think that's probably the biggest battle of just like establishing a routine so they know, and their parents know, and everybody knows, to try to just get them to play the game when they're here. I don't let them wear smartwatches at lift or at practice. I'm just like, I want, you only get to be here for, you know, a short amount of time, and whether you're texting or not, like, even if it's just annoying. So try to live try to live by example in that way too. Like, we don't all need to be checking our phones or, you know, whatever.
That's I mean, Coach Carr used to always say, like, your inner circle is the only people that matter. Right. And like this team and these people, obviously your family, but they're not constantly trying to get a hold of you during practice. But your inner circle, especially with all the media, like, we felt like we had a lot of media back in the day with the attention of our team. Now it's so much different, but that always stuck with me. That's why I always have less friends. Like, your inner circle people, man, it's all that matters. I don't need a lot of people in my corner, but if I have the right ones, I can do a lot of cool shit.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Love that. Love that.
I think too, it's like, if Coach Bob would have caught us with a phone in the dugout, like, that just like, and I don't want to say like he instilled a fear in us. He just had expectations, right? You don't go outside those expectations. Like, you just don't do it. And I feel like nowadays it's kind of like, I think a lot of young athletes have this idea that like, well, they should understand it's social, like everybody has a phone, everybody has social media, like it's just a part of normal day, but like it doesn't have to be, right? Like you don't have to pick up your phone in between drills. You don't have to pick up your phone every time you go take a drink of water. Like it's crazy to me that you can like drive around now and people are on their phones, like not paying attention, like not driving like with their full attention on the road. It's sad, but I think it's a consequence of what we've kind of given them is here's all this freedom to do and post and look and see all these things that may or may not be like filtered, you know? So it has kind of given them this instant gratification thing. And like, I don't do screens in my house other than like TV shows and movies. Like they don't have, Penelope has a smartwatch, but we don't do iPads. We don't do like video games, anything like that. And we are literally the only family I know that does that. And it's hard because when you are around other people that are doing it, it becomes 10 times harder to say no because they're like, well, if they're doing it, why can't we? So establishing that like within a program, I feel like would be really hard too. So like kudos to you for like holding up at least some kind of an expectation for them. Because if they don't have them, you know, they're just going to run with whatever they can do, like get away with.
Oh, for sure. It's just anything though. Like that's just the discipline part of it, which is the whole thing. That's like part of the reason why we play sports, right? Is to teach you that discipline and do things when you don't feel like you want to do them or it's not easy and, you know, showing up when it's not what you really want to do. And that's life, right? Like we all have choices we make every day. And I talk to them a lot about that. Like you make thousands of choices every day and your choices when you're a part of a team, they don't just affect you, they affect the people around you and the other people that you don't even know it's affecting because you're still, you know, somewhat attached to them, whether it's just your family or not, right? You represent all these different people and yeah, it's a bigger scale than just yourself. And I just try to help them remind them of that and, you know, build those skills because ultimately it's about building people. Don't get me wrong. I want to win championships. I'm competitive as all get out, but you can lose ourselves in that too. And it's like, it's also about building people that they can go out and be successful. And I want them to raise kids who are disciplined and, you know, they look back and they're like, remember when Coach Koons made us do X, Y, and Z? And because they're going to remember it and they're going to want to do it for, you know, their kids and their people and their, you know, the next generation. So, yeah, it's a hard battle to fight though. There's no doubt.
Do you feel like there's a difference because you did have the chance to like coach with AU last season? Do you feel like there's a difference between those, you know, fresh college women versus like the little bit more seasoned athletes and kind of how they approach that kind of discipline piece and like, yeah, the discipline piece?
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? Someone else asked me this question and I do think there's a difference because you come out of college and you're so disciplined because we put all the boundaries in place for you and all the things. And then on the pro side, it's complete opposite. It's, you know, you're facilitating whatever they need to do for themselves. So I do think there's probably a big transition period. Just watching, I'll just use Brie Ellis as an example, just watching her trying to navigate and figure it out when it's, you know, you were the best hitter in college and now you're on the pro circuit and what does that look like, you know, and what does my preparation need to look like? Because it's no longer in a team setting. It's, you know, what am I doing as Brie Ellis to prepare for the pitching and what do I need? Same with pitchers and catchers, right? I sat a lot with our pitching staff because I ran the defense. So just listening to their conversations and we talked about how we wanted to attack hitters so I could put the defense where we need to put them if I need to move them at all. And it's super fascinating listening to them talk the game at a high level. And now I'm trying to get our pitchers to think that way because I'm like, hey, you got to take some ownership in this too. Like it can't just be coaches calling, you know, the screwball every time and you're just throwing it to throw it. Like you got to throw it with some conviction, you know? So it goes both ways for sure. And it's an interesting transition. I think just like we tell everybody, the game doesn't necessarily change, the level changes and the IQ changes and how you approach it. You know, you just gain more knowledge the older you get, but we're still playing the same game at 10 that we're playing at 25. It's just a little bit different in the approach and the knowledge.
It's crazy because after this summer, I remember seeing a TikTok that Brie Ellis had put out there. And this is like where at times I see social media being a good thing because she's super funny, right? But like the vulnerability, I think after that season and like the tears and like everything that she put out there of being like, wow, I was literally at the top of my game. I won National Player of the Year. Like And then I go into this, and it's just, to her, it's like bed shitting 101. She doesn't know how to not do what she's normally done.
Yeah.
But to tell people that, and to have young athletes be able to watch that and know that, like, hey, yeah, she's probably going to come out on the other side of it, but pro's way different, dude. And you're spot on. Like, and I say this to any athletes that I come in contact with that I feel like I learned in college. Like, I had to have the same shit every single day. Monday after the weekend, this is what I did. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when I struggled, what I needed. When I did well, what I needed. We have to be so in tune with that piece more than anyone else, especially with pitching, because it's dark. Your days are dark. And that was like back in the day where, you know, one pitcher did it all. So it was different, different pressure.
Yeah.
But you could put that type of pressure on a player like Briella. She probably felt the weight of the world going into Athletes Unlimited, coming off of that season. And she's expected to do better. And that's what called being a professional athlete is, right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it tough, but also the best part.
100%. There's no doubt. Yeah.
I think I read something about you that had said that you had played every single position on the field. And what I want to ask you is, like, your upbringing and like the attention to detail on like focusing on different things. Like, what do you feel like were kind of the big things growing up for you in the game that you love to kind of focus on? What were a couple key things that some athletes could just hear you talk about?
Yeah. Actually, I think this is probably the first time I'll say this, but I wasn't very good. So I think that was probably part of it. Like, I remember being 9 years old, and like, I was selected for the Little League All-Star team, but I wasn't going to play. Like, I was just like, you know, on the team because I was like that kid that would do anything to be out there. And even on when we started playing travel ball in 10U, I was a catcher growing up. And I wasn't the best catcher. So when we went to nationals, because, you know, back when nationals was like I played right field. And I remember very vividly, I took that very personally. Like, I wanted to be the starting catcher. I mean, I was happy to be on the field, of course, and compete. And, you know, offensively, I was all right. But so I just took it upon myself to learn. I had an older brother. He's 9 years older than me. So it was to my benefit in a lot of ways because I was forced to compete, and like, he wouldn't give up taking me out there. And I hated it a lot of the days because they would end in tears because he'd be like, Joe, learn how to throw better. Learn, you know, you got to catch that or whatever. But I think that's really where it started. It was, you know, just wanting to be out on the field so bad. It didn't matter what spot I was in, but I had a goal of where I wanted to be at the end of it. So I did end up becoming a pretty good catcher. But then it's funny because I went to high school and they had a catcher who was a senior. And so they were like, you're going to play shortstop. And I remember looking at my coaches like, you guys are crazy. I worked so hard to like be the starting catcher, you know, and I played catcher in travel ball, like every game I caught. And so actually I look back at it now and they take so much credit for it because I mainly played shortstop in my career. In college, I didn't catch as much just because one of our shortstops went down early in my career. And so I just hopped on out there and played. But I think it goes back to just knowing the game. And I just love watching the game. I love experiencing it from different positions. And being a catcher, being able to put myself in those positions, whether it was shortstop or second base or the outfield, helped me get better as a catcher of how to control the game and control the field. But catching will always be my first love, which is why I wish sometimes I was a pitcher, but they told me I was going to be too small because my parents are like, yay high. But I wanted to play the second position that got the ball the most. So, but I joke because most of my like best friends, they're all pitchers. And so I'm like, well, it's because you like build that relationship, you know how to talk to them and like talk the game with them. So if I'm talking to young athletes, it would be just, you know, encouraging them to learn the game and be athletes. Don't just be in your one little bubble.
Yeah, I think that's super important. Just, it kind of carries over into the like multi-sport thing that we talk about so much too, right? Dee, is like, it's so important to experience different sports, to get yourself out there, to work different muscles, to see different mindsets and like different approaches to different games. same thing within your game. You shouldn't just be, I only catch. I don't play any other position. Sorry. Like, that's not going to happen. That makes you so much less appealing to coaches, is like, I need somebody I can throw, like Joe, like I can throw you anywhere. Like, I know you're going to compete and you're going to at least give me your best. You might not be the best at that position, but at least you're trying. Like, I feel like that's half the battle. Yeah. I never caught in college either. And I only caught in high school in travel ball. And I did not catch one game when I got to Hawaii.
Crazy.
I know.
So fun.
Well, I did pitch a lot, and I pitched a lot in college. Didn't play positions. We played first base for one game, maybe an inning. I'm like, get me out.
You hit, though. That counts. That's another position in itself.
So, and that's how the game has changed for pitchers. Like, the amount of POs that I see, and I'm like, you will go mentally insane in college if all you do is just pitch. Like, there was this pressure taken off by being able to help the cause. Like, oh shit, I just gave up like a solo shot. But hey, I get to be able to step in the box, try to get something going for the team. Because it is like, pitching is super lonely. And I felt like with hitting, there was no pressure because I wasn't expected to have to do what everyone else did. And that kind of made it more fun. And I was a good hitter. I'm not.
Yeah.
And then I told Maddie the other day that I think I had like 38 home runs in my career. She couldn't believe it, my daughter. And I'm like, bro, I don't think you know that. I was.
There are worse critics. Like, they don't believe anything. Like,
there were
do you
worse
really know?
than me.
Do you really know who your mom is? Like, do you really know? Are you sure you're positive?
She doesn't, and that's okay. I don't ever want her to feel the pressure of having to be that.
Yeah.
Because it's just unrealistic. We all have our own journey in the game, but damn, come on, Maddie.
Give me a little bit.
Don't underestimate me like that. Yeah, the pitchers are wild. You guys could like not take BP or anything, and you just get in there and like get a hit. I remember being a hitter and being like, "What is my problem?"
Yeah, I know.
How'd she do that?
But with Team Canada, they never had us hit. So I'll be damned. I mean, the outfield shagging for hours for all these pitchers. Like, what the hell is this? You want me to stand in the heat, bend down and pick up the balls? Come on, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Let me get some reps here.
That's right. They hire shaggers now, if it makes you feel any better.
Oh my God.
No, they don't. Do they really?
Yeah, AUSL, we didn't really have to shag. Like, we take BP, there's people out there to help us. So
it's too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
The P's stand out there sometimes just to like hang out, and chit chat. And if a ball, comes their way.
Exactly. Yeah. You had some of your best conversations shagging in the outfield. Bob, I don't know how much you guys know this. I know D, you're gonna run in a second, but he had a playlist because he threw RBP, like lefty fast under. He pitched professionally with his left hand underhand, like regular, and he had a playlist that was hardcore techno beats.
Let's go, Coach Bob.
Like hardcore. Like Sandstorm was like his song. And we didn't get a say in our playlist. It was always the techno playlist. And some of them were not like, I don't think he realized that it was like a very bad innuendo, like the song was. And so we just kind of be like looking at each other and like, is this happening right now? Like, that's what's playing. But he had his jam playlist, and that was what we listened to when we were shagging, was hardcore techno in the middle of Hawaii. Yeah.
Same though. Like, the girls always knew that the big dog was playing the tunes. Like, there was certain music in moments that I needed, and we could wear headphones, but like the Infinity Guru song, it was like our run to the World Series. Like, we would blast that shit on the bus. And I remember like introducing it to the team, and I don't listen to much dance anymore, EDM, but back in the day, like, we got after it. And it's funny because Coach Bob, pitcher, it's like he's the one in the moment having to throw the heat. Like, sometimes we need something to be able to like get through when it's hard. So to me, music has always been my favorite part of like doing hard shit. Like, I would just throw on a little Biggie Smalls and get after it. And like, this alter ego can come out through music, which I think is so cool.
100%. Yeah.
And everyone's so uniquely different. So it's not like it was just my tunes, guys. But in big moments, there was like, all right, I'm going to play this song. Let's all get after it. But there's some people that like, I also listen to James Taylor, You've Got a Friend. And I'm like, how opposite am I? But what I've loved is that it kind of brings you back to why you started playing the game. Like, I remember training with my dad, and he'd have that song on, and I'd be like, yeah, this is why I started to play. This is the type of stuff that I used to do when I was little. So I don't know. I've always loved music for that. I do want to ask before I jump off, I want to know, like, when you are on the recruiting train and you're looking for athletes, like for parents and athletes that listen to this, like, what are the main things, like, honestly, besides stepping up and being able to do something big with the bat or on defense, like, what are certain things that stand out to you that you look for when you recruit athletes?
Yeah, athletes. Like I said, people who know how to move and they do little things right. I think I look a lot at the little things they do, because you can adjust, some bigger concept, or you can, hey, like, that's your swing's not built for that. We're gonna learn to not swing at that pitch, but I don't know. Recently, if you want to know my recent takeaways, catching the ball with one hand is a big one right now. Like, we are really struggling with that in the softball world. At first base, tags in the outfield when we're not, camping under it, like learning like where your body needs to be, body positioning, yes, is a big one. And then I would say communication, like when they're out there walking around and talking, and like, who are they talking to? What are they saying? Again, I guess I really look for kids who know the game more than anything. Like, yes, you have to be athletic. Yes, you obviously we want them to produce, or you have to hit or throw hard or whatever your skill set is. But that's a big piece of it. And then the last thing is that we watch more than people think we watch. I watch so many interactions happen between parents and athletes, and parents to coaches, or parents in the stands. So I do feel as though I recruit parents more in depth now than I did probably previously, because at the end of the day, I've surveyed my own athletes here this year, and like, who do you talk to outside of ACU? Like, who are you people you go to talk to about softball? I'd say 85% of them have a parent on there. So I want to know, when they call their parent, are they supporting me and what we're doing in our program, even when it's hard, even if it's not going great for their kid. And again, I'm not perfect. Like, I make mistakes, but it's a big one. Like, how do they handle themselves, and like, what are they saying to their kid on and off the field?
That's money. I love that. With that being said, let's hope that I get into this high Las Vegas crew.
So I think that's another good point that you make, though, is like the parents thing. I'm really struggling with that right now.
You are?
Because I feel like it's similar to, like, like, you can't just walk around with like your resume like printed on a piece of paper and like show it to people. Like, I do know what I'm talking about. I actually am, trying to, and it's like walking that line between like being meaningful and like helping versus like what is too much, right? Like, what is too much communication with your kid on the field? What is saying stuff that maybe they don't need to hear in that moment? And it's hard for me because I also, like, I've coached too. So it's like stepping on this side of those lines is really hard for me. And my coaches are baseball. Penelope doesn't play softball. She probably never will. I love her to death, but she's got really bad hand-eye coordination. And it, like, people are like, oh, does that break your heart? I'm like, no, not really. Like, she's still an athlete. She still plays other things. Like, she's me again, just in a different sport.
Yeah.
And it's just so hard because you can't just tell like referees or other parents or the other team is like, no, like, what I'm saying is actually like, I'm just trying to help. Right. But also knowing when to, like, even if I say it, it's not going to help the situation.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling with that right now, but it's
hard.
I don't think we've ever coached against each other.
No. Lucky for me.
I think I had a really similar before you became a head coach. I feel like each coach kind of plays like a different, not role, but like they kind of feed off of each other in different ways. So like when you coach third at UT Arlington, or like when you coached first for AU, like those are very different spots on the field, and like your responsibilities are different, but it's also the way that you approach the girls, right? Like, do you feel like there's a big shift there, as whether you're at first or third, or, the defensive coach, do you feel like you have to like fill a different role for them?
Yes and no. It is different. Coaching first base is so much more relational, I think, because you're on first more than you're on third hanging out. Like, that's just the reality of the game.
Yeah.
And you get to celebrate when you get to first base. Like at third base, we're not really celebrating unless they hit a triple, right? Like, which doesn't happen a lot.
Not very often.
You're
Yeah.
talking to them about like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is the plan. Like, pay attention. You know, like, what are you seeing? You know, so I don't know if the role. I guess in some ways the role is just different. You get to maybe interact with them a little bit more relationally at first base, and then at third base. And I don't know. Obviously, I'm calling the offense at third base as well. On first base, I'm just making sure they get the sign, just to make sure you don't make me look bad here.
Yeah. Kudos to you. Cause when I was doing that at RU, it was like, I'm so used to being like the cheerer and like the positive and like just constantly communicating. And then in the back, I'm like, oh crap, I need to call. Like, oh, they need to steal. Like, oh crap, I forgot. Like it's so much going through your head at the same time. And then when I was at first at Davis, it was what you said. It's fun. Like it was fun over there. Like I'm over there chilling, like talking to people and, making jokes. And it's funny how different that shifts. And how do you feel like it was with AU? It's more of like a, not temporary, but it's like a different setup, right? You're coming in for 3 months and then you guys separate again for 9 months and then potentially to come back. How do you feel like you had to approach your position as a coach with the women there?
Yeah. Very different, right? Because you're more learning them more than they're like learning you. And I think, you're trying to figure out, hey, what are their strengths? And then finding small ways that you can, just help them get a little bit better at the end of the day. But high level athletes, it's such a different world to coach because you're telling them very specific things and they're able to do it pretty spot on, and they know because they know themselves so well. Back to, when you're recruiting like kids who know their bodies, they know themselves so well that they can either decide if they like it or they don't like it, or they need something different. And then you can kind of brainstorm those things. So it's highly relational, I would say, in the pro level as well, because it's less about fundamentals and teaching and discipline. It's more of, what are we seeing? What are we feeling? How can I help you, do kind of that type of thing. So, but yeah, now that I'm coming back, it's probably a little bit easier because you're at least gonna have a relationship with some of them. I know they're redrafting some of our teams, but at least you've been in the league, so people at least know who you are. So kind of to your point earlier, you're not just like showing up with like your resume, being like, "Hey, I'm here.
Supposed to be here."
Yeah. I know I look like I'm 12, but I do know a couple of things, and I love softball a lot, but it's a little bit different, but I think that's what keeps the game so pure at any level, is that every level needs a little bit something different to it. And this year will be interesting for me because I'm coaching more hitting as well. As like you in the past, I've only worked with the defense, and I've called the offense for the last handful of years, but being able to be hands-on with the hitters is, I think, a little bit more fun for me because I can actually tell them some cues when I am coaching from third base, which is helpful. So not to switch gears entirely from your question, but it is like interesting how your role kind of affects what you tell them when they're in game.
Right. And one of the things when I coached with Erin that I loved at Davis was she talked so much about their routines, right? Like know your routine, understand your routine, understand when you're straying from it and why, things might be going negatively, because at the end of the day, like that muscle memory of this is what I do before I step into the box. This is, the people that hit the plate versus like do like whatever they do. Like whatever you do is fine as long as you know what it is and you can repeat it every single time, because when things go wrong, you want to be able to pinpoint exactly the moment when it went wrong, whether it was seeing the pitch or, I didn't do something that I normally do. And so I think it's important to understand those cues, like you said, and like that routine and what works and what doesn't. And it is easier as you like junior, senior year, obviously, when you're playing college, you're like, oh, I got this down. Like I figured it out. But as a freshman, you're just like, oh, are we going to the cafe after this? Like,
totally.
It's not
100%.
quite like,
hasn't clicked yet.
Hasn't quite sunk in.
Yeah.
I guess like my last question would be, if you could go back, if you were a freshman again, and you could give yourself advice, or you met yourself as a freshman, what would you tell yourself as a freshman going into college?
Yeah. Not to be so worried about what everybody is thinking and just go play and just, I was recruited late. So I kind of lived that life of just like, no one knew who I was. Everybody else knew all the other freshmen. And so I just showed up on campus and they're like, who is this kid? And I think I felt that a little bit, and if I'd go back, it's just like, you belong, like you got recruited just like everybody else. And, we're not trying to necessarily like prove ourselves. We're just here to play the game and play it at a high level and compete at the end of it. Like that's the goal. And I reminded my athletes of that today. Like, you are here to compete. Like, forget everything else. When it's time to step on the field and compete, it's time to compete. And that's the difference between, training mode and then like competing mode. And if I could say, get in the weight room, which I now know it's so much better now than it was when we played, but I'm like, I never was in the weight room.
No, I couldn't even accept the bar when I got to college, and like the difference that it makes. Like, people don't understand that preparation in the weight room is huge.
Yeah,
that's so important. Yeah,
so different now.
People do
I think it's a lot
ball with her CrossFit, right? Like, it's like that's like, you just look at them and they're like specimens. You're like, geez, you really like. I wouldn't want to pitch to you. I don't. We don't pitch, but like, I would not want to. Like, no, I'm good. You can like take me out. I think that's a really good point that you make, though, about like feeling like you belong and like that imposter syndrome for a little while. Like, I definitely felt that too. And I think one of the important things, like, like having coached at some smaller, like maybe mid-major schools, or just like not SEC, not top 25, there is a place for you somewhere. And so I think it's so important for parents and like athletes to understand that, like, just because you want to go to Alabama or Oklahoma or, one of the big schools, like, you might get there, or you might finally get to that point where you're like, oh, this might not actually be the place for me. So like, also don't try and force yourself to fit into a position that you're not meant for. You know what I mean? Like, you'll find the school, you'll figure out where you belong. And like, you're going to know, like, the minute you step on campus, like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I feel like people stress so much about what it says on the front of your jersey instead of like who you are inside that jersey. Yeah. So I think that that's a big thing, is you'll know, and it's okay if it's not one of those top 25 schools. Like, you can still be D1, you can still be successful, you can still win championships without that.
Amen. Yeah, preach. You're preaching. And it's so important. And I think you have to know yourself as a player too. Not that we know all of ourselves entirely at 16, 17 years old. Like, we don't. That's part of this process of growing. But who is going to help you grow and stretch? But even at 16 years old, like, I knew I wanted to play. So I didn't want to just sit the bench, right? Like, I mean, I think that's part of it. And there's some reality that you have to, like, one, look yourself in the mirror. Like, am I as good as, Oklahoma or, South Carolina or Oregon or whoever you want to put yourself up against? And, do I have a chance? Or, and I mean, if you're in those conversations, surely they think you bring something to the table. But, I just think it's interesting, right? Like, there's still, like, to this day, like, there's still a parity, there's still a shift there. So it's like, what's important to you and your family. And, ultimately, I think that's a big piece of it. And I know growing up, my dream was to play at UCLA. Like, I wanted to be a Bruin. And, I'm so glad that, like,
when we grew up, like, who didn't want to be a Bruin? Like,
I don't know. I feel like I'm like fortunate enough that I know enough people in the Bruin. I feel like I'm kind of in the Bruin bubble a little bit without being in it, which is like great. But
call up Lisa, tell her we said hello.
But it was so special, right? And I'm like so glad I didn't end up going that way. Like, God had a different plan for me, because I wouldn't have played at UCLA. Like, I wouldn't have had the same experience, which means that I probably wouldn't be the person that I am, nor would I be the coach that I am. So everything happens for a reason. I think, like, to your point, it's just looking past the immediate gratification, which is what is so hard with the world we live in, because we all want the instant microwave popcorn results, and that's not the reality of life. It's not for the short term.
It's got to be a pot roast. Yeah, it's got to simmer for like 8 hours. You got to let it simmer.
Yep. No doubt.
No, it's so funny. Yeah, I get it. It's hard because, like, back then we only had what limited, portrayal TV media. And so UCLA was huge for us, like, coming from California. But like, imagine now, it's like that's a piece of it that I am happy about, because I feel like there's more coverage of places like ACU, of places like Nebraska, like of places like South Carolina that people would have never considered. And I do feel like it's helped sort of even the playing field just a little bit. There's definitely still a big jump, but I do feel like those really top tier athletes are taking chances at these smaller, less known schools. Like, hey, I want to go give them a chance, or hey, I can be successful here and I can help this team be successful. And so I think that's become a huge positive of the social media, the media in general kind of coverage. But
100%.
You got any last words / comments / advice for listeners, either parents or athletes?
Athletes, just enjoy the game because you love playing the game. At the end of the day, that's why you started. So don't lose your joy from it, because if you only get your joy from being successful, you're not going to be successful in this game is really the bottom line. It's too many highs and too many lows, but and just know what's important to you. And I think one of the best pieces of advice I've ever got, and I tell our recruits, you can go somewhere and be a part of a legacy, you can go somewhere and create one. So decide, and neither is wrong. Just decide what's most important to you in that process and of deciding that. And parents, I would say, do your research and know yourself and represent yourself how you want your your athlete to feel both on and off the field, and be represented in front of, the other people. Because at the end of the day, we say it here, like, character creates a culture. It's the same in a household, like who you are as a parent, more than likely, not saying there's not some one-offs, but you are, you're instilling that in your athletes as well. So it's just super important who you guys are and being there for, such a short time of their lives. I tell my friends that are raising kids right now, and I mean, you guys talk about all the time, it's the days are long, but the years really are short, and you only get to play for so long, and really you never know when that day is. So just enjoy it with them and make memories, and love the early morning drives and the late night talks and all the good stuff in between. Put down the phones and just, sometimes you got to sing, sometimes you just got to talk. Like, I don't know, those moments are some of the ones that I hold so near and dear to my heart from my playing experience. So
it's that, like, it's the time that they take, like, as parents, is like, you have to understand that, like, just like you've understood this kid's needs from the moment they were born, like, they need to eat, they need to sleep, like, all these things. It's like, when they move into sports, you still need to have that piece of it. Is like, it's not what you need them to do, it's not what the coach needs, what do they need in this moment, and like, how can you help them facilitate that, whether it's a conversation, whether it's not having a conversation and just like giving them space. It doesn't go away. And I think people get so caught up in the elite sports, the travel ball, the I have to be on this team because it's $3,000 a year, like whatever it is. And it's like, that takes away from like why we're all here. Is like, the whole goal is just to have fun. Like, we're here because we love this game. And if that's not why you're here, it's only going to take you so far. Like, college coaches can see that. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen, like, where you're like, oh no, it's like
you can hear it in their answers. You can hear it in their answers when you ask the questions, like, what makes you keep coming back to this? Like, why do you want to do it? And it's super fascinating. And you learn that as a coach too, what's important to you. Like, I know, one of Murph's famous questions is like, do you love to win more than, or do you like to win, or do you hate to lose? Like, that's his kind of like, thing. And I think every coach is a little bit different. So you also learn that about yourself, and then athletes themselves. And because it's supposed to be fun, but like, you have to want to be great at it too. So it's like that happy medium balance, which is the tricky part to navigate sometimes.
Why can't nothing's easy. None of it's easy.
Never.
The playing, the coaching, the parenting, none of it is easy. It's just all difficult. It's
parenting is hard too. I mean, coaching is hard, but like, we're just parenting. Like, it's just like parenting, like the next level, kind of.
You're parenting while we're on vacation, because
kind of,
with you and not with us anymore.
That's what it feels like. And then they show up and they're like, "Oh, everything is great." I'm like, I'm glad. I'm glad everything is great.
I'm glad you're in a good place, because you got to come get your girl.
It's funny. I'm learning.
You're getting there. You're prepping yourself. It's good practice.
Totally. God willing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us for a little bit. Excited to watch you guys this season. Excited to watch next summer. So much stuff, and kudos and good luck and all the things. So thanks, Joe.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you so much.